I'll get us on screen. Mics are live. There we go. So, this is Fly in Formation, episode 100, the Centennial edition here. And today I'm happy to have Roshin joining me, Toronto-based MC. One of my favorites in the country, honestly, man. Definitely big props on all the music you've been putting out lately.
My guy, I appreciate you.
Up to and including, of course, You Don't Get It with Gritfall, who may join us today and may not join us today. We'll see. He up until a day or two ago was saying that he was going to, so we'll see if he gets the memo here or not while this is happening. But it happens,
Marijuana's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, and also the time zone thing, he might have thought we were starting at I
think that's probably more likely what it is.
5 my time. He'll probably try to join the call at, midway through the Oilers game tonight or something.
That's not good for you, eh?
Well, no, I don't. I would rather watch the Oilers game than do an interview, honestly. At this point. But I'm glad that you joined me, and I'm glad you guys picked to do this in the afternoon.
No sweat, man. Yeah, that was why. Yeah.
Whatever. As long as it works out for everybody, it works out.
Well, last time we had an interview, we had such a crazy delay that it felt hard to get a real chemistry or rapport in the interview.
For sure. So
it's nice being able to connect like this, man.
Definitely, dude. Appreciate you calling in. I mean, that was a little bit rough. That's the only interview that I've had out of these first 100 that did that to me, and I still don't know why, but so far so good. So it is what it is. Can I just ask you, I guess, about how this new album with Gritfall came together?
Yeah. So I just had come off of a record called Underthinking.
Right.
That was produced entirely by my guy Andrew Hepner, who was going by Hep, and then he just kind of decided I'll just be my government, which is easier for me because that's how I've been calling him my whole life. Although Hep, I got used to calling him Hep, and I was kind of like, I like this. He and I have a studio space downtown Toronto, and usually like once a week we'll try to bring in. We were kind of in this spirit of collaboration. We're trying to start bringing people in.
Nice.
Because the Underthinking was completely featureless. And one of the first sessions we actually tried to get people in for was I had been talking to Six Letter, who is another rapper from Baker's Club, who's fucking killer, awesome dude. I got a joint with him coming out down the line.
We were trying to set a date for him to talk to me on Fly in Formation as well. These Baker's Club guys, though, they're elusive, man. They're tough to pin down.
You got to keep the mystery going, right?
Yeah, man.
No, but yeah, so I had a session with him. It was actually supposed to be him and the dude A-Sun Eastwood, couple of Toronto legends, you know what I mean? People I'm big fans of. And it just sometimes this happens, like it just somebody postpones. And in this situation, we had a double postpone. And I had recently met Gritfall at a concert. I think it was, I want to say it was at a Ghost Boy RJ concert.
Okay.
And I had like heard him and thought he was dope. And then I met him and I was like, oh, this kid's a dope guy too. You know what I mean? So we just kind of clicked. And then I was like, yo, why don't you pull up to the sections? Because Six is going to be there. And then he couldn't come, but Grit still rolled through. So we ended up having this session where it was the person I probably knew the least. With me and him and Hep, and we did this joint that ended up becoming NBA,
right?
Which is an album cut off that, and we had this beat, and me and him were both like rocked with it crazy, and we wrote this joint, and I thought I was writing pretty quick. I think I had like 4 or 6 bars at that point, and he was like, "All right, I'm done," and I was like, "What?" And he had written like a 24 bar verse that was amazing, and it's probably my favorite verse on the album.
Damn.
And just like crushed it. So while he was recording, I finished my shit, and we had this other joint called Rains of Pores that we had a verse and a hook on, and I was like, yo, Grit, why don't you see what you can do on this, because we had so much time. And then we had 2 songs, and so it was kind of like one of those things where I was like, we were working on a project that I probably would have called Underthinking 2, and it was going to be featuring a lot of people from the city that I really fuck with, some out-of-towners as well that me and Hep had been working with.
Just like a follow-up that would incorporate more of the city, hey?
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of felt like it's weird to have, like, I was like one of those things where you're like, I know Grit. At that point, we weren't like super tight. Like I knew I really admired him as an artist, and we got along, and we had good chemistry working wise. Um, but I was like, "Ah, it's a weird move maybe to have like two joints with one person on your album. It feels a little bit like a statement sometimes at that point.
Sure.
And
Right.
we weren't necessarily even there. And then like as we were working, Hep sent me another beat, and I was like, "Yo, I got something crazy on this joint." And he was like, "Yo, I actually sent that to Gritfall too, and he's got something." So then we ended up recording this third joint, and that joint was Peace and Love, where the time signature is super weird. It's one of these ones where it's like the beat goes for like 6 beats, sorry, 7 beats, then 6 beats, then it goes back to 4/4 time, then it goes back to like, so the count of it's weird. And I was like, "Oh, how's Grit gonna handle this?" And he just handled it like a G.
So if you guys
And
both had something written to it, did it end
yeah,
up working out that, or did somebody have to change bars?
it absolutely ended up working out. And
Nice.
I feel like this project ended up kind of being still the spiritual successor for the Underthinking project, because it's not, there are themes, you know what I mean, but it's not
Sure.
super duper specific. Like it's kind of us doing the flexing the rap muscle more than it's us being like, this is the actual, like we had like a goal in mind outside of just like natural collaboration.
I
But
didn't
it's
want to
weird.
say that first, but that was exactly what I thought listening to the project. I was like, this is just two guys who got some beats
Yeah.
and we're like, okay, let's just bar out.
Yeah, we're just on some shit, you know what I mean?
Which is,
Just trying to, yeah.
it's refreshing, man. Honestly, like sometimes I feel like a lot of, I don't know, maybe it's a Canadian underground thing, especially because like people are trying to appease grant writers or something and trying to like land grant money. So they're like, this is my really highly mental album about, like, you know, it's got this real concept to it, and we're gonna talk about, I don't know, one topic the entire way through, or like tell a story all the way through it or something. And it's like, that's cool
Yeah.
sometimes. I can fuck with that too, but like sometimes guys should just borrow too. So like, yeah,
There's a
I
fine
like this
line.
project.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Well, I
man.
mean, it was basically that. So once we got to 3 songs, it was kind of like we went from being this like, I don't know if I want to make a statement together where it's like you're on my album this much, and then it was just like, well, fuck it, like we just need 3 more, and we got like an EP.
Yeah.
And then I completely 180'd, and then we just did a whole project together. But I'd almost rather do like an EP with 6 songs than have like, this is my album featuring you. But by the end of this, it's like that's my guy now. You know, me and Grit are homies, and that he's my youngest friend.
Hey, yeah,
He's
man.
19 years old. You know what I
I
mean? But
always say, man, the
yeah,
best way to make good friends is making music with them. If you're a musician, I think
yeah,
that's a
man,
good way to build a bond for sure.
I would agree.
So how many sessions did you guys put in on this? Like, it sounds like you had kind
Not a
of
lot.
2 tracks right off the jump, and
Yeah, I
um,
think maybe 5, maybe
okay,
we did. I think we did, because we did 2 joints one day, and then the second joint, or sorry, and then the next session we had another song, and then I think literally it might even been 4. Like we had like, I think where we were done the meat and potatoes of it. I think we came back and fixed something on one session,
okay,
but he works really quick, and like a lot of the time we're like writing ahead of time anyway, and
right,
it's kind of like a show up and show off kind of thing, or one of us would. So
yeah,
like we had the last song we did on it was OJ Mayo, which was a beat that Hep had pitched me on like a bunch of times, and I kept saying no, because it's kind of like like I would be like, this is a weird sad beat, and like I didn't love it, but I also think I didn't really give it a chance. You know what I mean? Like there's a change that I really like. And weirdly, it had kind of started getting in my head after the last, I don't know, the fucking third time you pitched it to me or something. And on the last session, Grit, we were doing another song, and then Grit was like, "Yo, check this out," and he was like, "Keep it down, ayo," and just kind of this whole thing where he kept rhyming ayo the whole time and on
right,
that beat, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" And at that point, Hep had like worn me down, and I was now a customer and liked the beat. Um, so I just was like, "Yo, give me give me a minute." It's probably the last time I haven't been drinking much, but it's that was probably the last time I was pretty rocked writing a verse and kicking it, you know what I mean? And yeah, it was late at night, and we got it done.
Writing is funny sometimes that way, where like you can't figure out exactly what you want to say on a track, but then you hear another guy's verse on it, and it's like, oh,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
I see what direction this could go in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel about that too, because I always feel like the hardest points for me as a writer is just pick, what do you want to say. It's never been about like how are you gonna say it, or like how can you write something clever, or how's the rhyme sound, or how do you land on it? It's always just what do you want to say?
That comes back to that thing with the concept that I was just talking about, how like if you're trying
Yeah,
to go for a concept, sometimes it can get sticky like that, where you're like, oh well, how do I get that across? But like if it's
yeah,
just a matter of like saying some bars and just kind of having fun, being a rapper rapping, then
yeah,
I try not to allow myself to get in that writer's block or whatever. Like, sit down and just write something, and if
yeah.
it never sees the light of day as a result of not liking it after I've done it, then so be it. But
That's fair. I saw an interview you did with Jo recently where you were talking about, do you ever like write stuff and you're not happy with it? And he was like, nah.
yeah, yeah,
I was
no,
like, that's
I
the
wanted to
fucking
ask you
best
guys
answer.
that too, man. What was the question? It's when was the last time that you wrote a bad verse?
Oh yeah. You
That
know what?
that's
Straight up, it's been a while. Like I write verses that I'll write like edits that get better, as they go, sort of thing.
sure.
Sometimes if it's like you look back at your verses and you're like, oh, that's a high ass verse, you know what I mean? And maybe you don't remember exactly what you're trying to do, but there's usually one or two things in there that I'm like, I can do this.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But I often start writing and to like again to avoid the idea of whatever writer's block is, I'll just write, and if the first four bars end up sucking, eventually once I get into my groove, I'll just cut it and it started at the four. You know what I mean?
yeah. Come
Yeah.
in on a bar that does work or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
So
You
you
know Doobyis,
mentioned, yeah, I've been writing raps for 20 years or whatever. Nobody listens to the fucking things, but yeah, I
That's the
like writing
struggle, man.
bars,
I feel you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're dope, man. I like this shit.
Hey, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Dude, so another thing I kind of gathered there was that like it sounds like most of this stuff was written quick and then just straight to the mic. Like you guys were all in studio together writing, and I mean, I guess you said you
Yeah.
brought some
We wrote
bars with
ahead of
you.
time sometimes. Like I wrote a lot of this in my kitchen in my old
Okay.
place. I just moved in with Eric Gordon, not the basketball player, the producer. Um up north in North York and Toronto. But in my old place at Ossington on Essex Boys, I would write in my kitchen probably between the hours of like 10 and 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I would just kind of like do whatever, put on beats, and then write this stuff. So like the joints ended up kind of being picked because like Hep will send packs that are like sometimes he'll send like 10 beats or like 3 beats or whatever. It's just like I kind of digging through my emails and being like, what are these? Which of these did I resonate with? And then he'll kind of produce more on it as we went. But we
Right.
did write in the studio as well. But I'd say probably most of it he wrote in the studio more than I wrote in the studio, I think.
Okay. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like he's quick with it. So
Yeah,
if
he's dumb fast with writing. Yeah.
yeah, if that's what
Yeah.
somebody's forte is, then why not? But
Yeah.
something I've been asking is like, how long do you typically like between when you've written a verse to when you actually get it recorded on tape?
I mean, I don't really have a preference. Like I'm really happy to do it right after I wrote it.
Right.
But also like if I take a couple days and if I'm like sometimes if something's like really special or like kind of like, oh, this is a joint I really want to show up for, and it takes me a little longer to write it, and maybe it's like one of those things where I wrote a couple verses and I'm taking which one I think is the best one,
Right.
then those moments I'd like to be able to kind of just, even if I'll have my phone in front of me still probably when I'm recording it, but I'm still gonna like I want to know it like super super well.
Yeah. But so you don't actually memorize it. You'll be in the booth reading
When I
off of a
record
phone
it,
still, because
yeah,
I
I
know
read off
some
my
people
phone.
say like, "Oh, it sounds like I'm reading" or whatever. Like,
No, it's weird. Like I've had one moment in my entire life probably where I was at a show. It wasn't really a show. It was actually at here at my house where I live now. But Eric used to do these does these like kind of living room or out in the backyard. He'll do like kind of pattern select, like they're like beat maker showcases. Maybe one guy comes up, two people come up and kick a couple raps, and like we had this one song to do, and I came up and like done a couple songs, and then they're like, yo, you got to come back up, and it was the end of the night, and I was like way too wavy to rap off memory,
yeah,
and I was just like, yeah, fuck it, I'm at my friend's house, and I pulled my phone out, which I would never do on stage, and don't do it. But I don't think I've ever kicked a verse live better in my life. I think I'm the kind of guy, like, it never sounds like I'm reading off my phone. It's more just like if I have the ability to do it, like I'm always like on recording, like I just want the shit to sound as good as it can sound.
yeah,
It's not the same as doing it live, and like when I do it live, like yeah, I'm not reading off my phone, but I have a lot of raps. I'm not trying to memorize like 600
100%.
verses or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me too, man. I think probably a lot of artists are reading off of their phone, especially if it's something that, well, because rappers, we don't run around and do a bunch of shows before we record the song, right? Like with punk bands or whatever. I have a bunch of homies in punk bands and stuff, and like they'll write a song and then go play it at 14 different little pubs or whatever and do shows.
That's kind of dope, though.
Really like iron it out, and then go in and record it. But rappers don't tend to ever do that, I don't think. Like to have everything memorized before you went to the studio. Yeah, I've thought about it. Like, would that help? Would the delivery be tighter?
I performed, like, I'll try stuff out at certain shows. Like, I'll always usually try to throw in 1 or 2 songs that are like, I'm trying them out. It's almost like if comedians would do, like, I'm trying a joke idea out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, those are songs that I've recorded, but they're not songs that I've like put out per se or something like that. I think there's probably times where there's songs that I haven't recorded that I've done, but like that's few and far between, I'd say, probably.
So the other thing that I wondered was, like, were any of these songs kind of leftovers from Underthinking that were like kind of scrapped from Underthinking, and you were like, oh, maybe if I just fill in this other verse with a feature, we can.
You know what? Out. No. Rains That Pours was one of the last ones we did, or one of the first ones we did right after Underthinking, and I was happy to get that one on this. And I think the beat for OJ Mayo was in the original batches, maybe for Underthinking, but not really. Like, we're kind of like with Underthinking, we kind of got to a point. I think we only cut like really like we had done a lot of work, and the idea was just kind of like we'll put it out as is. We cut one song. I think I might have told you this before. We cut one song that was called, I think it was called Jack Kirby, and it was like a kind of a comic book ode to some extent, but it was way too deep,
right?
And like it wasn't like a well communicated song. That's a bad verse. It's not like a bad verse, but it's kind of like, it didn't do what I wanted it to do. And then we had one song that we got cut just because it was the last song we added in it, and it didn't make the runtime. You know what I mean? But that'll come out on the next thing. I'm still gonna do Underthinking too.
As a comic book head, I think I might have got the Jack Kirby references. I just think it was. I don't think it was a bar about like hooks hit like Jack Kirby did them or something along those lines. I don't know. It rhymed better than that, but it's like because Jack Kirby always drew the great big fucking hands on dudes. All of his
he did.
art has great big hands. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like that was better than everything I wrote in it, so take that to the thing. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's good you cut it then.
Yeah.
So, how about the title for this one, bro? You don't get it. Do other artists get it? Do I get it? Who does get it? Yeah. Or what are people getting?
You know what? I think it was kind of just like in the same way that we were kind of on this kind of fuck you braggadocious, just like rap shit kind of thing, being like, you don't like it, you don't get it. You know what I mean? It was like there's a depth to it, I guess, but it felt more of a statement of kind of like, this is us on our shit. You know what I mean? And like it was the same mentality of that. Like we had a bunch of iterations of my guy Bronze, who did the art for this. We had early talks about doing kind of stuff that was all based in like very modern like meme culture as all of the art. We ended up landing on this kind of pseudo band tee like YDGI look, and with the Napoleon Bonaparte painting on it because of a single bar. We like the look of it, but yeah, you don't get it was just kind of like the idea of, do you get it? It was more, I think, for us saying that, like, so if you listen to it and you're like, I rock with this, yeah, you get it.
Okay. All right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I got the Napoleon picture thing anyways. That made me picture in The Sopranos, he gets the picture of him sitting on the horse like Napoleon. Is that the picture you're talking about with Napoleon sitting on the horse?
In a portrait by Jacques Louis, what's his last name? Fuck, I don't remember now. I wrote the bar and I forgot it already.
I can't recall either.
I can't remember, but he painted this thing, and I say a line in it where we say like on a horse in a portrait by Jacques Louis.
Yeah, it rhymed well with whatever his last name was. Yeah. So what else did I want to ask you? I got to skim through these questions because some of them were,
hit me, man,
meant for Grit.
Ask me the Grit questions, and I'll do my best.
I guess you might be able to answer this. So I was going to ask Grit, like, does Baker's Club have any oversight in his creative output, or is he pretty much just kind of co-signed and out in the world able to do what he wants to? You know,
I like this.
yeah.
Yo, I like this because
Was there ever a point where you got a phone call from Raz Fresco being like, yo, you gotta
cease and desist? Yeah. 100%. No, like I've known Raz for a long time. We did the King of the Dot cipher like 10 years ago together. And then I've known Six for probably around the same amount of time. And so like, I don't know. I feel like yes and no. This is me. I think ask me these questions and ask Grit these questions because I'm going to give you a different answer probably.
Sure. Yeah.
I think my impression is that, yeah, in sense of like they're an overarching crew. I know from me organizing with him that they have meetings. That's a thing that happens. So they're definitely on page with everything. I think they're aware of everything he's doing.
Right.
I never had a conversation with him about, is this cool to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this also wasn't released via Baker's Club either, right? So like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Makes sense.
I think that like to some extent, yes, but you know, my interaction with them was just Six being like, yo, that shit's dope. I mean, that was kind of the end of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Did you ever see yourself working with somebody as young as Gritfall for like an entire album like that?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, yes and no. Like I've had like rappers that I would say like throughout the years that like I try to be a mentor when you can to younger artists and stuff. Grit, I'm not that to Grit. I guess I am maybe in some capacity, you know what I mean? Like I'll be OG or whatever and he's the young buck, you know, but like realistically like Raz is that to him. You know what I mean? The Baker's Club guys are that to him. They're younger than me, you know what I mean? And they're older than him because we have such a big age gap.
Right.
So it wasn't like necessarily something that I had sought out, and to some extent it was a little surprising that it worked that well.
Was this your attempt to stay relevant with the youth, Roshin?
You caught me, brother.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think realistically, it's like I just kept looking at my Spotify Wrapped and it being like so many of my fans are in their 30s, and I was just like, gotta change this shit, doggy.
I mean, yeah, no, I don't know. You can maintain that lane, man. There's a lot of money to be spent older, from people who are 30 plus.
I'm trying to get that 60 plus money, you know, that's where the money's at.
Yeah, wait until people retire.
I want like people to be like fans also like, and it's like Chuck D. You know what I mean? Like,
sure. Yeah. Right to the roots, man. Why not?
Get it.
What else did I want to ask you? So,
dude, I like Public Enemy. That came out weird.
No, I mean, I think everybody likes Public Enemy. I don't know if I've ever heard like anybody disrespect Chuck D. Really?
No. Like, why would anyone do that?
Yeah. No, I don't. I've heard a lot of hip hop hot takes over the years, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody hate on Chuck D.
My hip hop hot take is that I don't hate anybody, and rappers get mad at me about that. They're like, who do you think sucks? And I'm just like, I don't care enough. Like, it's like, for me, I'm looking for the best in people typically, unless you've like done something egregious as a person. Like, I probably am not going to talk. Like, I might see a rapper and be like, it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I will say that
keep it positive, keep it moving.
I gained a lot of respect for Flava Flav until I ever had seen them live. I kind of thought like, hey, it's hype man. Is that a necessary element or whatever? When you see them on stage together, you realize that like, oh, okay, this is why Flav is as famous as he is, because
dude, he's a legend. You remember on De La's album The Grind Date, I can't remember the name of the song now, but they have a song with Flava Flav, and like he comes on and you're like, I need a whole album of this. It's like, I'm a huge De La fan, right? But I'm just like, De La with Flava Flav is crazy sounding.
Yeah.
And they almost have that because Maceo, their DJ, is like sort of like a hype man as well. Like he's one of these really live DJs, right? Yeah. But like you add Flav and you're like, oh man, like I don't know, it's kind of important. Yeah.
Fair enough, man.
Hey, man. I need a hype man.
Yeah, I guess. Shit, man, if I didn't live so far away, I'd be happy to jump on stage and yell bars with you. I heard bars in this album where both you and Grit separately, I think it was on different songs too, talk about, and I can't recall the exact bars at this point, but I mentioned one of them in IG chat there to you the other day about like how That was Grit's bar about like decline the interview. That was the bar that I do remember. And you had something on.
Imply the hidden truth. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the best. Dude.
yeah, yeah. So I wanted to ask him about that, but
That's why he's not here. Maybe that's the real answer.
yeah, right. He declined the interview. So the hidden
Yeah,
truth
yeah.
is that Gritfall doesn't like me. I guess that's what it is, I suppose. But no, I wanted to ask: are interviews just like generally painful? You hate doing this shit because you had a
No,
bar
man,
on
talking
there
to
too.
you. I mean, people are. I mean, it's weird because like in this lane, it's like most of the people who are going to interview you on these kind of platforms care,
Yeah,
and that's really all you can really ask for. Like I've had stages in my careers where you did more interviews that were kind of general interviews, like when you're like a group that's like maybe trying to have more commercial, like in whatever viability or success.
yeah.
You get these interviews with people that are like, "How did you get into music?" And you're kind of like, "Oh, you know what I mean?" You're answering these kind of like thoughtless questions, you know what I mean, over and over again. So interviews can get shitty in those ways, you know what I
Right.
mean? But I think that like Grit's just more of a mysterious guy and he's gonna decline the interview to leave you guessing. Because there's an era also of like we have such an oversaturation these days with like access to people
Yeah.
that like even when we were kids, I don't know how old you are, but when I was a kid, like little kid when the internet had like blown everything up, it was like I would read the source or double XL and you'd get your news there, or you'd read like a newspaper article, and having someone appear in the newspaper was a huge deal. Whereas now you're like, oh, sick, I know that guy. You know what I mean? And it's cool they're there, but it's like I know more about them from following them on Instagram or TikTok than I do from reading an interview in the Star. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
and
like,
yeah, I think also with interviews for rappers too, man, like it's a fine line because I always avoided asking people about like, hey, tell me what you meant in this bar until I
yeah,
asked the internet, like, I don't know, half a year ago, like, do people want that? And people fucking love that, man. Like,
yeah, no, people love that. Yeah.
uh, but as rappers, like, I don't know, I don't want to explain bars to people. They figure it out. Fucking,
I feel a little bit
take
like
what you
sometimes
want
when I'm
from it.
explaining a bar that like there's a line between like, because I feel like, you know, as a writer, you might get to a point where you're like, oh, this shit is kind of like, this is a dope thing I did. And maybe not everyone caught this aspect of it.
Right.
But then you get in these moments where you're like, am I that comedian who's being like, no, see, the joke is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
It's
like,
not a
you don't
good
want to
joke if
over
you got to
explain
explain
something
it.
if you got to explain it. Right. So I always try to write something that's like, there is a subtext, but there's a literal meaning, so that if I write something that doesn't have a literal meaning, I'm not doing my job properly,
Yeah.
because I need someone who does not get whatever weird reference I'm pulling or whatever the subtext is that I'm talking, because maybe they haven't lived that. I want them to be able to walk away with it and get something from it.
Mm,
And the person who has lived what I've lived or has seen that movie or read that book, like really get something
they'll
from
catch
it.
it. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense, man. Um, so when we talked about underthinking and
Yes, sir.
your last project, you were kind of just on the stop thinking so hard about the album rollout, stop thinking about
Yeah.
um, image and social media and all this shit and manipulating algorithms and all that.
Mhm.
However long it is now, what was that? Last year we talked about that album or
Yeah, it would have been
something?
last year, I think, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So a year out
Yeah.
from that, um, still on that wave, or are you
I
feeling
mean,
like it's better to maybe put a little thought behind some of that stuff?
I think being deliberate is important. And I mean, I think I needed to do that for my own mental health. I think that in general, it's important to have an idea of maybe what you want to do. I just think being results based is like, you got to be kind of able to roll with the punches. Like, there's going to be stuff that you post that like you think is going to go crazy and it won't. And you just need to be a little, I think personally, you need to be a little less precious and like share your stuff on all the platforms, even the ones you don't have much of a following on, and like don't really sweat it. And like if you have a video that you've chopped up into three pieces and part two of three does really well and the other two don't, like that's okay. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's all growth, you know what I mean? And I think that like we've been more deliberate in this project because we like Hep was like really adamant we got it out very quickly. Um versus even Underthinking, which the turnaround was quick, but like compared to my other releases, it was quick. It wasn't like super duper quick. This one was like we finished and it was out like in a month or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we already shot and released 2 videos. We have 2 more already shot. I have one that's coming out on Friday for Rains It Pours. And like, that was the kind of the goal. We were like, we have this guy Gonzalo in house, and he was like, I want to do a video for everything. And we're like, all
Nice.
right, fuck it, why not? You know what I mean? So I like concepting videos, and as long as
Is there
people
a
show
video
up.
from the project already out? Will that be the
There are
second one? Or?
two.
Oh,
There are
damn.
two.
I've been sleeping.
There is Ring Around the Rosie, and then Peace and Love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like videos? I mean, like, aside from making videos, do you ever find yourself like, I said something the other day on Threads about how, like, I personally have never had a video change my opinion of a song in any way, shape, or form.
I've
Videos-
negatively had it change my opinion, and actually, that's
Okay.
not true. I've definitely had a video change my opinion of the song,
Okay.
because I think that sometimes a video, if it's done correctly, and that I think this is at like a pretty high level. You know what I mean? It's like done correctly. You might fall in love with the visual and then hear the soundtrack of the visual differently.
Sure.
Like, there's definitely, looks like the Cephalstein song Pursuit or whatever. I remember watching that video and just being like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. I think it's Pursuit. And then going and just saving the song, listening to it over and over again based on that video.
Okay.
And like, if I had seen a random other video to the same thing, I might not have fallen in love with it quite as much. So like, there's definitely formative stuff, although like videos aren't around in the same capacity. And even though, no, that's not even true. Because even on IG, when I watch, like I was on Jessie Reyes's IG recently, and I saw her post this performance of her singing this song, Couldn't Be Me. And it's like just a little video they made for Instagram or whatever, with her, she's kind of just like looking hot and singing, and I'm a fan of hers already, and like the way I hear that immediately, it changed the difference of like, I didn't go and like listen to the whole record and then pick my favorite songs. I was like, I just immediately went and saved that song, and then
Yeah.
you're listening to the record kind of. So I think it can change my opinion of someone, or it just like provide a different kind of access that makes you like, I'm more open to these days, because I don't have time to scan through every song from every album. Sometimes I feel like.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. See, I actually set my Fridays aside to scan through. Well, no, I can't say every song from every album, but at least a couple when it pops up on my Spotify release playlist or whatever. I'm listening through fucking 8-9 hours worth of new releases every week. So like,
oh, bro, good on you, man. That's tight.
Dude, a lot of the time, well, and I stream it too. If anybody's ever bored, come by on Twitch. I'm sitting around fucking listening to hip hop on Fridays. But a lot of the time, I see artists who have like dropped the video a week later, and I'm like, I already know the song. You know, like I don't really need to see you guys model like cool and all. You know.
Well, but I think it's different from what you have from a video, because there's a lot of people who put out videos, and it is just like, here's me performing, and I don't think that, I mean, like, that doesn't add a lot for me specifically. I think that it works in terms of the quote unquote algorithm and like getting your shit up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you're gonna do a video, I'd rather see something. Like, we're not doing crazy concepts for this, but we have Rains That Pour, as we shot a video with umbrellas outside of my house in front of a green screen while someone shot rain on top of us.
Actually, now that you mention it, I saw the IG post. Yeah, I didn't see the finished product.
That video comes out on Friday, right? And it's
Okay.
like that, and then we did a bunch of green screen stuff behind, and I think this shit looks really good. You know what I mean? And like, if you're into that song, hopefully you find it on YouTube, or you find it on whatever other social streaming platform, and you're like, oh, this shit is tight.
Did you guys make a rain machine for that? So one of the few videos that I have ever done for my music, I was like, it was a track called Raindrops, and we were going to shoot this thing in a basement of a fucking warehouse that, you know, we had open. And it was like, how do we make it rain inside of a fucking warehouse? So I like rigged up, and I made like this figure 8 thing out of tubing or whatever. I can't really remember, PVC tubes, and drilled a bunch of little holes into it, and then fucking attached a, you know, faucet hose onto it.
So it was dripping like rain style.
So it was actually dripping rain style on us. And we recorded most of it like a step behind that happening. And then like for the final shot of it, we were like, I wonder what this looks like if we're actually standing in it. And it was so much fucking water coming down that like the last shot of that video was us just like laughing because we were like absolutely soaked wearing our fucking polo shit, trying to look good, and it was like, this doesn't look good at all. Now we're just fucking soaked. But yeah,
I like shit like that though. I mean, like that's the other thing too. It's like people are really like want to look cool, and I get wanting to look cool. Oh, like everyone likes to look cool, but like looking like in committed is the thing.
Yeah,
Being
for sure.
soaked and rapping at the camera when that's the goal. Do that shit.
Had
That's
to get
tight.
the take. You only got one, right? Yeah.
I like that though. I like the resourcefulness of that. You know what I mean? And like we do the same kind of shit. We're just hanging this. Literally, I have like a backyard, and there's like a half deck, and we just like put the green screen up hanging over top of it with like two clamps, and then
Okay.
had a big light. And then my friend Kislo is above me. Just I'm holding an umbrella, and he literally has like a hose attachment. Is just spraying water on top of it, and so all you see though is the green screen and the umbrella. And
Right.
so you see the rain come down, and in the video, like the rain's there sometimes. Sometimes it's not even there because it gets, it's not the vibe or whatever. But
Yeah, man.
I like doing shit like that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
you're right too, because bad videos can kind of ruin it. Like when I'll see sometimes like you see this in underground rap a lot too, where I see a video that I'm kind of like, oh, this sucks. And it's like from an artist I really like. And I'm kind of like, whoever did it, it's kind of like, look, we just need something, and they haven't put any effort into it, or there's no concept behind it. It's just like I'm outside and I'm rapping now, and I'm like, ah.
Dude, I've noticed that like a lot of rappers are posting live footage of themselves at shows too, and sometimes I look at it and I'm just like, I don't think the world needed to see this one, bro. Like, it could just be me because I'm such a like studio based artist. I just want the music in its full form in my fucking headphones, and I don't necessarily want to see everybody on stage kind of rapping to a like half crowd at some pub somewhere or whatever.
The half
Like,
crowds are rough. Yeah.
unless it's like a big fancy looking show, it's tough, man, to get that good stage
I get it. You go to a local show sometimes, and I'll be like, you have your camera up, and I'll be like, I'm just gonna like push it between two people so it looks like it's full,
Right.
because you feel bad
over
or
two
something,
people's shoulders. Yeah.
No, but I mean, like at the same point, it's like people are at where you're at, so it's like if you fucking perform and there are 13 people in the crowd and you're wherever, it's like it's not something to be embarrassed about. It's like you're fucking
Fair
on your way.
enough.
You're building your craft, and you're building your fan base and stuff. I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe it's not the look in terms of like
And showing the actual
showing
journey is
success,
important.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Showing the journey is important too, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I just see it and like, maybe we didn't need that one. Sometimes dude, my hater tendencies, I've had to reel them back and reel them back and reel them back. And at this point, like, I try not to say, like you said, anything bad about anybody specifically.
Dude,
even like when
weird, though. Sorry, I will say this, because like I know I said that earlier. One thing I've pretty much stopped drinking lately,
Mhm.
and going to a show and seeing a bunch of bad openers, whereas used to be kind of like just have a beer and talk to my friend. Like when you're a little more like when I'm more sober for this, the hater is coming out a little bit. Like I'm starting to be like, oh, this is pretty rough. I'm gonna go outside and go buy a bag of chips. Like, it's just kind of like, I don't know how much patience I have for that shit anymore. And it's kind of like I don't try to clown on people, but at the same point, I'm like, when someone's bad, and I'm like, I'm not fucking on something.
Like, yeah. Sometimes a couple drinks can take the edge off of that situation and make it bearable, but I'm not a fan of watching a lot of different openers, man. A lot of the time it's this pay to play bullshit where people don't actually have the skills and they're up there just like they haven't practiced. They have no fucking business on the microphone being on stage, but whoever's promoting the show didn't want to promote it, so he was just like, here, you can sell 50 tickets and then you can open.
You can go on last. You can headline because you sold the most tickets. And
yeah.
Nothing to do with if you're good or not. And then you're a fan of the artist and you're out here watching.
Promoters, I'm definitely a hater for, man.
Jimmy L and fucking Neutron Man. Fucking
yeah.
What's your name? Paradoxicles. And you're like, okay, dude.
And I don't know if it's everywhere quite as bad as it is here in Alberta, but there's a lot of just like weird I think, who was it? Hermit of the Woods, Halifax-based dude, described it as like dirty t-shirt juggalo rap, and I was like, man, that's like the best description I've ever heard of a lot of these fucking guys that I see out here trying to rap.
That's pretty jokes.
Yeah.
Also, Hermit of the Woods, good name, bro.
Herman of the Woods, yeah, he's dope, man. Check out his music if you haven't. Halifax based guy. He's actually like a professor out at Dalhousie, and he like teaches a hip hop course and shit. But
it would have been tight if he was just he was a professor of the woods.
He's a professor, but there's no one around to teach.
It's just like straight, like it's just straight like Snow White shit. Like his class is just populated from woodland animals and shit.
Bro, I wanted to ask you something I've been asking a lot of people. Do you listen to your own music? I think
I listen to this
schools
album.
of thought on this.
I listen to this album, and
Okay.
I don't typically, because a lot of the time, by the time the album comes out, this music is somewhat old to me, and I am kind of on the next one. And usually I'm like, that's for the world now. It's not for me anymore. It's fine. And it's always a weird thing as an artist when someone resonates with a song of yours, especially if it's like one of the older songs from an album that like to you is maybe old, but to them it's new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, I love this song. And you're kind of like, oh yeah, I wrote that 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Whereas this shit is so new to me still. And maybe it's also because Grit's on it with me. So I'm also listening as a fan.
You're
and
not listening just to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, like I fuck with this album, man. I listen to this album all the time. I really like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, man.
I find myself listening a lot to it. Yeah.
That makes sense, dude. So I wanted to ask this to both of you, but it's something that I've seen people talking about online recently about like, and I think it's kind of a dumb term for it, but the Rushmore of Canadian hip hop. So I just want to replace Rushmore of Canadian hip hop with kind of like Big Four of Canadian hip hop. But I thought it'd be interesting to ask you guys, like, because he's so young and you're established and have been around for a while.
Right.
Who would your, kind of 4 founding fathers of Canadian hip hop be?
All right, so are we talking like guys who are the greatest to do it, or the people who I think are the most important formative for?
See, I mean, it's always open to interpretation, conversations like this, but I think it's a different thing than like, your top 5 Canadian MCs or whatever. I feel like the Rushmore conversation, I mean, the actual Rushmore was founding fathers or whatever, right? So like people who kind of laid the groundwork and paved the lane, maybe, is kind of my interpretation of it anyway.
Okay, in Canada, Cardinal for sure. Socrates for sure. I mean, I just used to listen to fucking Dream Warriors and Maestro a lot when I was a kid, but that might be, I don't know if I have to have, like, they're both, I mean, those are great artists. Part of me feels like I have to have Corey D's from Monolith. These are going to be all Toronto guys. Sorry, I'm really biased.
That's fair.
Although I could put Mocha up there. I wouldn't be mad at Mocha. I think Mocha deserves that.
Yeah.
Mocha might be the other one. I mean, like, because it's a part of me is also like, with everything being said and stuff, but like I feel weird not saying Drake if I'm talking about like the greatest to do it in Canada. And I also feel weird not saying Decisive or Shad.
Yeah.
Like, it's a hard top 4. Fuck, bro.
Right.
Can I just have top 2 and then we'll leave it at that for now? Chocolate too? Damn.
Yeah, right. It's tough to narrow down. It always is with lists like that,
is,
though, man. Yeah.
Checkmate. Fuck.
No, Checkmate. Okay, I wouldn't have thought of Checkmate, but I've played his music on Atzik and shit. He's been around like that. He's
been around. I think I probably first heard him around Northern Touch.
Okay.
And he was on like Much Music a little bit at that point.
The other name I saw being kicked around was Classified.
Classified. Yeah, he deserves that too. I think he deserves it. I think it's more just like at that point, it's like sometimes there's a Toronto bias for me where it'd be really easy for me to literally just be like the guys in the circle, to just be like it's Socrates, Cardinal, Chocolate, and like Road Dollar or Solitaire. You know what I mean? Like, and that's, I wouldn't be mad at that, or Marvel. I wouldn't be mad at those 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Like, and like, I understand that if I'm trying to be objective and jump out of it a little bit, to not have Class or like have Mocha or like, I don't know, Rascals dudes, it's like hard to like maybe leave some of these guys out. It's just like I'm from my city and I love my city like crazy. Yeah. And like the guys that I listen to coming up, like IRS, like Monolith and Brass Monk, Mathematic, like those guys are gods to me. Like Oddities, Pangea Project, these are groups that I like genuinely look up to, and like I'm friends with some of them now, and it still trips me the fuck out that I get to be friends with these guys. You know what I mean?
I know the feeling. I do know that feeling. Yeah. what else here? How about any predictions for what's coming next in hip hop? Where do you see hip hop moving to?
Oh man. Um Neo Polka.
Yeah, definitely the
Yeah.
Neo Poco
Neo
wave is about
Polka.
to start up. Yeah,
And
okay.
not Neo, but Neil Diamond covers.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Neo Diamond covers, which is when you have a Neil Diamond and a Neo song and you mash them up.
See, this is one of those ones that was like more, Grit was supposed to tell us where hip hop is going.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to Grit. I assume, you know what I mean? I hope it's going to Grit.
Right.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, there's so many good young artists out of Canada and in general, you know what I mean, out right now. It's weird, like, we have these conversations sometimes as older heads of guys being like, what do you think of like mumble rap? And I'm like, all right, that question inherently means you don't listen to this kind of music, probably, right?
It's a
Like
hater question. Yeah.
a hundo P. And like, I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, new genres of music happen all of the time. They're not for everyone. Do I think that some of these guys in that scene are like lyricists in the same way? They're not. They're different. You know what I mean?
Right.
They do shit I don't do well. Like I like Lil Baby. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? A lot. You know what I mean? I think he's great. Like
Well,
I would never make music like that because it'd be incredibly inauthentic, but like
there
I
you
think it's
go.
dope.
Yeah.
And I think that music's going in an interesting way. It's like kind of like pushing into this distortion realm right now. Like you hear a lot on like the new Paris, Texas record, the fucking Playboy Cardi's last album. Some of the shit they're going is like it's like almost industrial, like
Right. Yeah.
dirty
Super
industrial
raw.
shit,
Yeah.
like punk type
Yeah.
shit, and I really rock with that. I think that's really cool. And I find myself being like, again, like I'm not making music like this, but dude, like I like it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. That
turn
makes
up.
sense.
It's making me kind of making me get through my like my morning commute. Well, you know what I mean? I'm into that.
Well, and everything has a time and place, right? It's not
Yeah.
all supposed to be something that you listen to at all times or listen to by yourself. A lot of like somebody's
Yeah.
got to make the music for the party, right? So, oh,
Here for
this
the
was
party.
something.
Shut up.
Here's something I wanted to ask you guys both. Is there a difference when you're writing for a collab that you know is going to be a collaboration than when you're just writing something that's going to be solo work?
Oh yeah, pressure.
Okay.
And excitement. I think that like I mean, if you have a good relationship with your producer, then you have that there anyway, where you're like excited to share it with that person. But like I think the collaboration of working with somebody that you rock with and you think is really dope is like that friendly competition that is great in hip hop of trying to outdo the other person and also being psyched because you get to listen to this other person that you're a fan of.
Mm,
So like I find that like often like you put your best foot forward way more when you first start working with somebody or when you're, you know, if you have a specific relationship where you really respect that person's pen, like you're going to show up.
yeah.
Like the biggest compliment I've ever gotten from other rappers is them trying to outbar me on my own songs. And I'm like, I don't know. We'll find out.
Did it feel like competition writing with Grit, or like were you
No.
guys
I mean,
trying
like
to outdo each other?
competitions. I mean, friendly maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't think that like I don't think either of us ever said I'm gonna get you on or I got you on this.
that was exactly what
Literally,
I was
our
going to ask. Did
relationship.
anybody go, "Oh, I think I got you on this one"? Yeah.
No. I mean,
No.
I think we would more say I think you got me, if anything. You know what I mean on
Sure.
that one.
Okay.
Because like I think that like what he does on NDA MBA is amazing. I think what he does on OJ Mayo is amazing. And those two songs might be my favorite songs because of that. Whereas for him, he's like, your shit on Peace and Love is crazy. He was like, that's my favorite collaboration maybe I've ever done. And I was like, that's big props because you work with some fucking killers, and I'll take that to the bank and hold
Yeah,
it
he's
over
been
them later.
busy lately, man.
Yeah,
I see his music pop up with all sorts of different artists lately.
yeah, he's great, man.
Yeah.
And Grit's got a real bright future, and he's also like as good of a producer as he is a rapper. You know what I mean? And that's saying something.
Word.
Um, yeah.
Um,
Um,
how how
but yeah,
about this? Or unless you got more to say about that,
I forgot where I was going, so you go
about
ahead.
competing with Grit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, competing. No, that's my guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you think that your sound stands apart from the Toronto sound, or is the Toronto sound?
That's a good question. I think a little of both, probably. Like, there's a Toronto modern sound, especially from guys who are kind of more like lifestyle kind of rappers. You know what I mean? That are more like street rappers and stuff out of Toronto that are there is more of a unique, sorry, a uniform sound for a lot of those guys,
Sure.
or like I wouldn't say like uniform is the wrong word, but like there is a sound, and then
Hmm.
people are kind of playing around and in with that. I think that I exist in a lane that was in Toronto probably before that, and like I got good at doing that, so I live there. But I live more among the rappers that are like, the Tonas of the world, or like Run and Gun, or the younger guys that do it are like, Claremont the Second, or like Terrell Morris. Those kind of guys are sort of in that lane.
Right.
Although they take it to a maybe more of a neo soul place. But like I think that I am Toronto in the sense of like you can't really shake where you're from, and
Yeah.
I love where I'm from, so I think it comes out.
Yeah.
Um
You're gonna
I
sound
don't
like
have
your
I
city,
don't
so you
have a
might as
comp
well embrace it,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
I'm not like, yeah, my shit, because that's not how I grew up talking again.
Right.
So I'm not gonna be like that. But same shit. It's like I like that kind of stuff. It's just it would be inauthentic, right? So be yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, don't do the Wagwan Delilah or whatever. Actually,
That was jokes, though.
yeah, I did want to ask you a little bit about that, though. It's been a year since that battle happened, and I don't want you to weigh in on necessarily either side of it, but I did see some people talking online about like how that was the greatest battle of all time. Would you say that was the greatest battle of all time?
Oh man, that's a big. Those are yeah. I mean, it's hard because like I was such a I'm such a fan of both of them. So in some ways, yeah, there's never been a commercial success diss song like Not Like Us.
Right.
Um, and it sort of feels like that's kind of a weird thing in itself. I don't know if it's the greatest battle of all time. It's definitely was the most like how like when like Vietnam happened and it was like the first war that you were like was kind of live broadcast,
Mm, yeah,
and the protests were so real because of everyone was seeing it happening. That felt like this battle was one of the first ones where I was like it was happening in front of our eyes
that's a good parallel, man.
in real time,
Yeah.
and like you'd have like Drake put out a song and then Kendrick right after would put a song, and then
Right.
or like stuff like that, or and then the reactions were live. So like
Just because
rap
the
reaction
industry's
podcasts where
changed.
like
Yeah.
everyone, like literally me, everyone I knew, we'd be in the middle of talking, doing something, we'd all just stop and go listen to the new Drake record, or stop and
Right.
go listen to K Dot record, right? So it's like that. I think in some ways, maybe what I mean. Like, is it the greatest battle of all time? Like, fuck, maybe, I don't know.
It was the greatest coverage of a battle of all time.
It was definitely the greatest
Probably.
coverage of a rap battle of all time. And it's
Yeah.
weird, the whole Drake shit too about that is like he's the way that's sort of gone is because this guy like was a dude who like dummied Meek Mill, you know what I mean? And kind of beat up on Common, and like in a way that like I'm like a ginormous Common fan. I remember when
Yeah.
that beef
When
happened, I
that
was like
whole thing
really
happened, I was like, oh,
weirded out by
Common's
it.
about to get him, but like,
Yeah, and
not
like
really. No,
he had a
it
couple
didn't
lines,
happen that
and
way.
like I like, but it's also like Common kind of like coming at him. It felt like it was maybe for personal reasons. They usually are, right? But like Drake was just kind of in his bag, and he gave him like a verse, you know what I mean? And then it wasn't until like Pusha dissed Drake where I really objectively saw Drake take an L.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was kind of like, oh man, you're going into this album, and it was more the information than the diss. And again, super big Pusha fan as well.
Yeah.
So it kind of was weird going into this thing with Kendrick, where I think there are definitely people who are fans of hip hop who are like Drake's not hip hop, and like we're waiting for someone to like knock him down in the way
Preying
that
on his
like maybe
downfall.
we were with
Yeah.
50 and Ja Rule or something.
Yeah.
Whereas like for me, I've always been like, whether or not dude writes with people or whatever the deal is, that guy is an elite pen. To me is like one of the greatest rappers I've ever heard. And like I would say that also about Kendrick, but the idea that it wouldn't be like a battle to me was kind of absurd.
Yeah.
Like we get into the details of what's being talked about, and it's kind of like, fuck, I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to win that one. You know what I mean? But like, uh, like I wasn't like, no part of me was like rooting against somebody in this battle. Whereas I felt like they were definitely like outside of like the Toronto or the Drake stands, pretty much everyone was rooting for Kendrick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it also feels like there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with Drake, and a lot of people that made people kind of upset about everything. You know what
He
I mean? To
seemed to
keep
have
it
a lot of
dramatic.
enemies all of a
Yeah.
sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even the fallout from it with him, you know, taking it to court and stuff, and it's still tied up in court.
Yeah, I've talked to my guy Boje about that a lot, who thinks that's the funniest thing of all time, because the idea of reading like legalese and then going into like, in this song when he writes bop 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 bop, you know what I mean? It's like,
did you actually feel like you were being physically threatened? Like,
yeah, and I just like, I get it. I've heard also, I mean, like there's sides to this shit. Again, I don't, it's hard to like spin that, but at the same point I'm kind of like, it's more, I think, about getting, there might be more behind that that's not necessarily about like I'm suing you or suing, and more, it might be a bigger picture move for Drake in terms of,
I have heard people say that like what he's doing is going to be good for indie artists or whatever, because he's going after kind of, I don't know, payola style fucking
his own rights as
algorithm manipulation and this.
I think that there's something maybe there.
Yeah.
I don't think that most people are perceiving it that way, and
yeah,
it's definitely like, it's, I have people who I'm very close with. I'm from Toronto, so I have a lot of people that I know who are like in or very close to that camp.
right.
And then I know other people who really don't like, or huge Kendrick fans, or people who maybe didn't like the style of music Drake was doing, or the OVO scene. So it's like people who are in one way or the other have kind of are very much viewing this as like, this guy sucks, this guy's amazing, this is a body, and I'm kind of like, it's probably somewhere in the middle. I think that like Kendrick clearly, like, man, he's doing a fucking victory lap, like number 7. So like, it's like, we know what Not Like Us did, you know what I mean? I don't think there's any arguing about that.
My least favorite thing about that entire battle was just that it seemed to turn into Kendrick versus Canada a lot of the time in comment sections, and just how like, oh, Canada's done for, and it's like, I don't know if this applies to the rest of Canada. Too. Like, come on.
I will say, as like a Canadian, when I was watching the Pop Out concert, I remember watching that shit online and being like this is a moment, but it also I kind of felt bad, because I was just kind of like, not like bad, like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this, but bad, like, it's kind of our guy.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like kind of watching your dude kind of get beat up on a little bit, you know, in these moments. And I'm like, I remember having the pride of like hearing back to back when that shit came out and just being like, or like a new Drake album coming out and just being like, I'd never dreamed of that kind of shit when I was a kid. Like when Cardi put out an album that was on MCA and he shouts out Vaughn and Oakwood on a song, just like an intersection in my city, I was like, holy shit, this is on a major American, you know what I mean? And like, Drake was coming out with these albums, and like everyone was listening to it. And I remember just having this feeling of like, this guy is like, every reference is like to my city, and like how special that felt.
Put the city on the map to a global level, right? To a global audience.
Absolutely. So, you know, I mean, it's, that part hurts, you know what I mean? And like, I want the dude to have a career. And you know what I mean? Like, I mean, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully
my opinion of this is fluid, you know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
It's not like,
like, you think he will be able to continue a music career after this? Like,
I don't think there's any doubt. This isn't the age of like he's done. I think that where he's at in terms of his legacy of where people view him in the hip hop, like kind of like royalty statement might be a little bit more cooked than anything. Sure. I don't think that he's ever going to have trouble eating or putting out hit records.
I thought that he might step into acting after this. We might get Fast and the Furious numbers 14 through 27 starring Drake or something.
Followed by the inevitable Ludacris beef.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, but no, I don't think he'll completely disappear from the spotlight in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, he put an album out, the party album, sort of. I don't know if you listened to that at all.
No, but I skipped it, but I saw a reaction to it. Yeah,
there were some good joints on it for sure. It felt a little like they made it in different rooms, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Okay. Like it didn't feel. It felt more like you're over here, I'm over here. It wasn't as we're in the studio together creating. There's a lot of like, I don't mind 2-part songs, but there was a lot of 2-part songs. But there's joints. Yeah. Like the key, like who's calling my phone? That's a good song.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing is Nokia is the one from that. Although I've also seen people being like, this dude needed to make a commercial for Nokia to be relevant or whatever. So it's like, is Nokia still a thing that needs commercials? Are they even still out there?
This guy's advertising beta tapes. Yeah.
Anyways, bro, we just hit the hour mark. Can you stick around for another 10 or 15 here to answer some of these how important questions? Okay.
Yeah, I got to do that. We can't just end on me talking about Kendrick Drake.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I typically don't even like bringing that up, but you guys are both Toronto guys, and I
Yeah.
thought, well, let's see what they
It
think.
would have been
of
tight
you.
if I was like real biased and I was just like, nah, man, fuck Kendrick or some shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, it would have made for a good soundbite, I guess. So.
Yeah. I probably could have got. We could have got viral there for a minute, man.
Yeah, there you go. No, that's not really.
That was like
the
a
intention.
DJ Academics truther or something.
Yeah.
I use the term DJ loosely.
Yeah, definitely. He's a Twitch guy though, so shouts to the DJs on Twitch, I guess. How important?
That's the worst shout out ever.
Yeah, shouts to the DJs on Twitch.
Shout to or whatever.
So here, how important is how important is stage banter between songs?
Oh, for me, it's my whole life. Stage banter is the only time I have the freedom to be myself on. Like, when I'm in a conversation with someone just randomly, I'm always like, am I overstepping? Am I talking too much? Like, I really get in my own head about that. And on stage, I just get to be pure Roche.
Yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
I think stage banter is, it's not important for everyone. Some people don't even do it. But like for me, like, I like to make people laugh. I like to make people feel comfortable by being comfortable. And that's like some of my favorite shit.
For me, shows feel a little bit cold if there's no stage banter between them. It's a fine line though too, because sometimes I'm also like, okay, but we don't need to hear, the story about how this song's dedicated to your grandma or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Dude, I saw a show recently talking about terrible openers. I won't remember this guy's name, but it was something along the lines of like Smooth Genius or something stupid like that. And he was like, yo, this song's gonna be conscious. And I was like, we know, Smooth Genius. Like,
who would have guessed it?
Yeah. Who would have guessed your name? You know what I mean? Like, but that kind of shit is like, that's not banter. That's just like you awkwardly writing something down you had to say beforehand because you don't know how to. And that's the thing. That's learned. Like, it's like being comfy isn't necessarily something you can just be like, oh, do this. Like, you could write a joke down. And like, we've both seen good acts that like are shy. It's not like people can't do that. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to be able to be comfortable being yourself at the very least. And I think that's a lot of what banter is, right?
Well, and it comes with, like you said, experience and, people gaining more stage presence over that experience. I think they'll find themselves more comfortable up there riffing a little bit or going with the flow a little bit. Whereas like, when it's your third show, you're up there and you're like, I gotta really fucking memorize everything and do it just like I had it memorized or whatever.
That's fair.
Yeah, man. How important is finding the right venue for a show?
I think it's important. I'm a proponent of, I like doing shows that are full. So like, I'd always rather do a show at a venue. If I think that I'm pulling 120 people, I'd rather do one that fits 80 or 100. Because I want it to be full and feel like a party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not terrible if you're at a 60-person venue or a 100-person venue, let's say, and you have 60 people there. It's not going to feel empty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like those ones that are kind of like good crowded, you know what I mean? Like, you can't not feel the vibe because everyone's in there together and you're kind of like all this one thing. I think those are the special ones. So picking venue for that, and then obviously just like having a venue that has a good sound tech, or unless you have your own, you know what I mean? Like, playing a show where you can't hear yourself or the crowd can't hear you because all they hear is fat bass. That shit sucks, man. Like, it sucks also when you can hear yourself and they can't hear you well, and then you do this whole show and you're like, man, I crushed that shit. And you get off stage and someone's like, couldn't really hear you. And I'm like, cool, that would have been good to know.
They should have turned the vocals
up. You
need
the banter to be like, can you hear me? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Is everybody enjoying themselves? Yeah.
Yeah. Would people like it if anything in particular was turned up or down?
Tell the sound man.
Yeah. Tell Jareth.
There he is, right back there. That's the guy to blame. So and how important Jareth. Is that a name? I don't know if I've ever met a Jareth.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've never lived. Next question.
That's not a real question. Yeah. How important is How important is it that the listener understands your lyrics?
Good or good. That's not what I mean.
It's
Uh,
good.
it's good. I think it's important. I mean, like I said before, like I think that it's important that on some level people understand your lyrics. Like I try to pride myself on being, or I do pride my try to. I pride myself on being like enunciating when I'm live so that people can try to catch the lyrics
Okay.
because I think that's also important. And something that doesn't, at least in the kind of rap music I make. Um, if you're kind of a person who's more melody driven, maybe it matters less. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But I think being able to get stuff, to me, it's really important. You know what I mean? Like there's artists that make music that is pretty cryptic, and I like some of it, but like I typically have to be in a mood to listen to stuff like that and work to enjoy it, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
Like some people can sell it if they have the voice for it and the pockets there and stuff. If you have a great voice in rap, you can do a lot of shit. You can get away with a lot of it.
and I mean, you
Like
got to find the right audience for your cryptic shit, right? Because to the right
for sure.
audience, they're
Yeah.
going to catch the references, like you were kind of talking about earlier with,
Yeah.
you know, the Kirby song or whatever. That like,
Yeah.
the right audience is going to understand it. Other people might not, but
Dude, we have a line on that on this project. I have a line on, I don't remember what the fucking song is, but it's on You Don't Get It, where I make a line where I say something about flipping, I go listening to Nirvana while I'm flipping through Siddhartha Stoned. And
mm,
then I go to the narcissist some gold, man. Heart of Stone right after. Or Heart of, I can't remember the fucking line now. But basically I'm referencing like Nirvana and Siddhartha the Buddha or whatever it's like, or Nirvana and like the band and the book. But Herman Hesse, who wrote that, also wrote Narcissus and Goldman. And it's
okay,
like less
it's a
than
deep cut.
1% of people are gonna
Yeah,
get that bar. But it's like, what I'm saying is to
the
the
ones who do.
narcissists, I'm gold, man. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's like that works because they don't need to understand what Narcissus and Goldman is. They just need to know what, to someone saying, "Oh, that guy's gold to me," means, and what a narcissist is, because
yeah,
that's the same root or whatever, right? So it's like I think that it needs to make sense in some level where you're like, "Ah, shit!" Like I can still understand this and get it, and it's like if you do get the depth of it, you're like, "Oh, fuck, that's some shit."
yeah.
You know what I
That's a
mean?
good point. And to people who don't, it just sounds like a regular bar, and they don't catch the references, but they're like, "Oh, okay, narcissists like him." Sure.
Yeah. Yo,
Yeah,
man, give
yeah,
me 10,000. Yeah, I'm doing suitcase numbers.
yeah, yeah.
10,000, right? That's enough money to put in a suitcase. There's four numbers on a suitcase. That's 10,000 combinations.
Oh shit. Damn.
There's
All
levels to
right.
this
Oh,
shit, but that's not
levels
for
to it.
everybody to get,
Yeah,
right? It's like
yeah,
that's what I mean. Like it's like you need to have the initial thing. People got to be able to get that shit.
yeah,
Personally, not everyone agrees with that. There's definitely rap music that we all love that is like kind of like I don't really know what the fuck the guy's talking about, and not even just the underground guys. Like I don't know what Noriega's talking about a lot of the time, but I fuck with him.
yeah. Ray and Ghost, I don't know what the fuck they're on about a
Yeah,
lot of the time. Yeah, to different
yeah.
levels in different songs, but yeah, definitely. How important is a song's title?
Shit, man. I don't know. These are all subjective. I guess you
Well,
know
to
what?
you personally, do you care what your songs are called?
For a long time in my old groups, we used to do bracket names where we'd have the name of the song and then the bracket would be what we called the song because it was almost always the beat name.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have the song called like Recoil and then in brackets it says Crimson. And we all call that Crimson, but none of the people who are listening to the song call it that because it doesn't make any sense.
Right,
Right.
because they didn't know what
And
the beat was called in the first place. Yeah,
yeah, and then I always admire people who have these really long titles for their songs. But I think at some point I was also like, I'd like people to be able to hear my song on the radio without a Shazam and be able to find it.
yeah,
And if someone's like, "Oh, I know this artist Roshin," and then he has this hook called where he keeps saying it rains it pours in the hook, and the song's called, I don't know, the song's called something like torrential downpour. Like you might be like, "Oh,
sure.
it's probably that one." But if the song's called fucking like Arthur enters the
Some
baguette
vague.
store and orders two baguettes. It's like you might be like artistically, oh, cool baguettes, but like, and maybe there is a meaning there that I haven't thought of, But like, if you don't get it at all to know, then it's kind of like I don't know, like I feel like I don't want to alienate somebody,
Yeah. Yeah, that
you
makes
know?
a lot of sense, man. And
Yeah.
these questions are definitely all subjective. They're supposed to be subjective, right? There's no
Okay.
right answer. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of like, what do you think about it for your own stuff? So yeah,
Have you ever been to a
answer
baguette
makes
store?
perfect sense. I don't think, is that a thing? Like a bakery, I guess, would be a baguette store, but
My
no.
man Jareth owns one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Out there in
yeah.
Toronto with Jareth. You
Jareth
got
at the
baguette
baguette
stores.
store.
There.
Yeah.
How important is any one substance to your artistic process? You kind of mentioned drinking being a thing that you...
not anymore. I'm trying to be off of pretty much everything right now, which is weird because I rap about smoking weed so much. And then people are like, you want to hit this blunt? And I'm like, nah, I can't. A lot of these things are just not agreeing with me. I'm having kind of like physical reactions to them that are not great. And it's kind of having to reframe me just kind of falling back in love with writing on its own.
Do you think that's this legal weed, bro? I've been finding that, like...
yeah, I think so. But it's drinking too for me, man. It's like even coffee for me right now is not, it's not green. I'm on like a decaf coffee a few days a week, maybe. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Whereas
Shit, even just a decaf, you cut back to one a week for decaf, even?
Like a couple times a week.
And that's pretty much just water or whatever? There's no caffeine in it.
I always thought it was like half the caffeine, but it's not. It's like, I don't know, it's like 10% of the caffeine or something. It's like way less. I'll do like a Diet Coke or something, but I just find that like I'm getting keyed up on this shit way too quickly.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's not forever, because it wasn't ever a thing where I'm like, oh, I need to stop drinking forever. It was just kind of like, or I need to stop having coffee forever. It just, for whatever reason, is not agreeing with me.
I'm hearing from more and more people about the cut back to like diet weed or whatever, smoking, you know, stuff that's higher in CBD and lower in THC, because I don't know, not every time you smoke does it need to be like 35% THC, fucking launch you to the moon, you know, or like dabs, man. The entire dab culture was out of hand for a while there.
Dab culture is wild, where it's just like, how high can we get? Like, how high can we get while doing a drug that's not supposed to be a drug to us? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, we're gonna do this drug that is like a calming, chill, we giggle drug, but we're gonna do it in such a concentration that it becomes a serious drug.
And you need a torch for it. Yeah.
Man, does my shit say Patrick Crosby this whole time?
I guess it does.
Sit on mine. Shit, I'm gonna change that.
Here, I can for the replay, I can put a little box over it so people won't see that or whatever. I'll block it out so that people see.
Well, now they all know my government, because I
guess I'll chop this part out too. Yeah, no, I'll chop.
No, you know what? Leave it in.
We can fix it in post.
Okay. Yo, do you think it's dumb? I have a question for you. Do you think it's dumb that because my name's Pat Crosby, I didn't just rap by that the whole time? I feel like that's a pretty hard rap name.
Well, I mean, because of the like hockey player tie-in, I feel like it's like pretty solid last name you've got there for yourself. you could have went myself.
I was rapping before that guy was even around. I wasn't out though.
Yeah, fair enough. But a lot of artists kind of do the like. I talked to Kripal about it the other day. He's got a new album, Johnny Rich, where Rich. Like I feel that's his real name, Johnny Richard or Richmond, or I don't know what his actual real last name is. Yeah, it's Rich something. He said it on the podcast. I can't actually remember what it is, but
me and him both got like some weird names too. Where we have pretty strong regular names, and we're like, I'm Roshin. He's like, and I'm Kripal.
There you go.
It's like weird choices. I feel like across the board, but I like my name.
They're Googleable though, right?
Yeah. That's
people find you if they punch it into Google. I mean, you guys probably both named yourself before that was really a thing that anybody thought about. Me too, though. You know,
Doobyis,
yeah. I'm the only one who spells this way, so it's easy to find for people. So why change it? But
I like how you spell it. I had a lot of names that were taken when I started. That's kind of why I ended up with Roshin. Roshin comes from Master Roshi from Dragon Ball.
Okay.
Originally, but like I was like Apocalypse, and there was a guy named Mars Apocalypse, and I was Intricate Kid, and there was a dance crew called Intricate. They're all like Toronto local things, and then I was Master Roshi, and I was like, no one's taking this.
Damn, yeah.
No one's naming themselves after this old perv with the turtle.
It always reminds me of like Ronin or whatever, the samurai with no master. It sounds like some samurai shit, Roshin.
Yeah. I like Ronin. I like that word too. So I think that's partially. It sounds like that to me too. And also when I added the N, like it was Roshi to Roshin, it felt like I was from somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So I was kind of like, I'm with it.
I mean, if you like your government name though, maybe do the government name album. I was talking to Kripal about like how that seems to be a trend that a lot of people do, to be like, this is the real me now on this album or whatever, you know, like
I might do an album just called Kripal.
Just name it right after, dude. There you go. Yeah. I
Full
mean,
circle,
I
man.
would suggest go with your name rather than his, but whatever, that might work.
I just started naming myself after underground rappers from Canada. That's the albums are called. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you
just
got
do
any
a
more of these?
song. Just do a song named after somebody like Lil B
Yeah.
did. You know, just name your songs after celebrities. That gets you found on search things. Yeah, I got a couple more of these. How important is pressing CDs?
I hope not important because I haven't done it yet as a solo in my career. I think that depending on where you're at in markets that drive around a lot and maybe have CD players in their cars, that's when it's most important. It's also the most affordable version, I think, to make of all the like the medias you're gonna
Yep.
make.
Yep.
So in those ways, it's important. I sometimes feel like printing CDs is just like literally like creating shit for a landfill.
Yeah.
And like
That's
I don't love it for that reason. Like I think wax is art. I think you cassette stuff you can make is kind of art, and it's not like I think they're better. I think CDs are for a lot of people entering that category. Like I have a 13-year-old nephew who like is kind of getting into CDs,
okay.
and he has a record player as well, and he's like a big music fan. He's like a Swiftie and like listens to a bunch of shit like that, and he like wants to get things on CD. And the fact that like his uncle and his dad have albums that are on CD that he can listen to, he thinks is crazy.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it's kind of like, isn't that's like we used to burn these on our computer, like it was easy as fuck to make them. Now we just don't have disk
Right.
drives anymore, right? But so
I
yeah, I
bought
mean,
one at a show a couple weeks ago. Yolanda Sargent was in town here, and like I bought
sick.
a vinyl from her, and I also bought a CD. And then I came home and was like, I can't play either of these two things. You know,
Yeah.
so now I'm gonna stream the music like I would have anyways. And I kind of just think people should do like T-shirts. You know, press your album on T-shirt and give them a code to download the shit. Because
we got the cassette rig of
yeah,
all
okay,
Torontonians, you know what I mean? Like, and that's
all right. So is that just because? I mean, I'm 38. I don't know how old you are, but I never actually really was listening to cassettes. I mean, I was
I'm
around
41, and maybe
there
that's the
were
difference.
cassettes
Like
in cars and
yeah.
stuff sometimes, but not really.
I
I
had
had
a
a Young
Walkman.
MC cassette in my first car. That was
Oh, bet sick, dude. Really?
yes,
That's
sir.
tight.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the first no, I had some cassettes. Like I had, I mean, like we got a CD player when I was probably like 6 years old or some shit. But I definitely had a Walkman because Discmans weren't like available for a long time.
Okay,
And even when they were, like Walkmans were kind of tight because you could run with them. And like Discmans took a long
sure.
time to get anti-skip technology and it didn't really work.
Yeah.
So like I liked that stuff, but I think that was in the era when I was listening to like Tom Cochran and like the fucking California Raisins and shit. It wasn't like it wasn't like CDs. Like CDs kind of accompanied. I think we had the Dream Warriors tape and we had Maestro tape and Madonna. I'm trying to think of the other stuff because most of my music at that point in my life would have just been me stealing my brother's music.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
was way too young to have it.
makes sense. By the time that I was able to spend my own money on music, the Discman was around, and I remember the anti-skip evolution or whatever. But yeah, Discman was my first step.
What was your first CD?
I think. Oh, you know what? Actually, I know this one because I asked for Eminem's album for Christmas or whatever for my parents, and my dad bought me Will Smith and Kid Rock instead because they didn't have parental advisory on them. And
Kid Rock didn't?
Kid Rock apparently didn't, man. So that was who they thought should be my role models, and
dude, you just reminded
me.
We sent my dad, me and my brother Swamp, who was in Notes to Self with me. We sent my dad to get Ill Communication Beastie Boys when he came out.
Nice.
And he came back, and this wasn't like a parental advisory problem. He came back and he goes, guys, for the same price, I got these two albums. And he got Some Old Bullshit, which is the Beastie Boys punk rock album.
Okay. I've never even heard the Beasties punk rock album. I knew they were a punk band originally.
It's not bad. It's not bad, but it's definitely not like it's not Sabotage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he got the Counting Crows album.
Because that's almost the same, right? Holy shit.
I remember that being like, Dad, you really took this L here.
Parents just don't understand, bro. Parents just don't understand.
You had that on the Will Smith album.
Yeah. Well, no, I had, what was it?
Millennium?
No, probably before that. Big Willie Style or something.
Big Willie Style, yeah.
I mean,
Let's
that
get
had
jiggy
some
with it, that
Nas.
one.
That had some Nas writing on it. He wrote
Yeah,
that, I think. Yeah.
he did. And Styles wrote some stuff for him later, I think too.
Yeah.
There was that one Will Smith line I always loved where he goes, I got so many awards, I started a Grammy chessboard.
Did you
I'm
see
like,
that
that's hard, dude.
freestyle? The
Yeah,
freestyle
it wasn't.
that Will
That
did or
wasn't it.
whatever. No, it
That
wasn't
wasn't
it.
it.
But then I saw somebody like did a remix of it where it was over top of
They
a
did it.
Griselda
It was
beat.
over Dr. Bird's. Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah,
Also
and
not it.
it sounded much better than the other one that I heard. Though I was like, oh, okay, well now I see what this was supposed to sound like. But no, like it.
I mean, I want to like it. You know what I
I
mean? I think I give legends. He's a flower. Or sorry, I'll give flowers. He's a legend.
sure, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know.
But it wasn't it. I agree. I
Yeah,
listened through it once. But
yeah.
okay.
Hot
Let's.
take: Will Smith's not the greatest rapper out right now.
Oh man, that's the sound clip right there. We're gonna go
Yeah.
viral. How important is a song's mix or master, the sound quality of your music?
I think what you want to do with a mix and master is debatable depending on the kind of music you want to make.
Mm,
But I think it's important. Like having a song come out and sound good wherever you listen to it is important. Um, or have it sound at least how you want it to sound. Because like people like I've had engineers and stuff that are pretty small time, do a pretty good job because they understand the assignment of what we're doing.
yeah.
Like for this album and Underthinking, Hep mixed and mastered both of them. Whereas on every album I've done before, solo was my guy Moose mixed it and mastering by Joe Carvalho Studios, and these are pretty like known, good people.
High
And I
end
think that
stuff. Yeah.
high end stuff compared, paying a lot more for sure. And it's like I don't think there's anything wrong with not going that way, especially with there's pretty good mastering software around and stuff, and people you can get some sound that'll maybe work for you. And like when we're doing like kind of like drumless hip hop, that is like there's not a lot
Yeah.
comparatively going on in terms of the dynamic where you have a sample source and stuff. It's like I think it sounds great. You know what I mean? And that's really the end all be all of it. If it's do you like how it sounds?
I
A lot
thought
of
it
people,
sounded good, man. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
about is Hep like actually like a trained audio engineer, or is he kind of a
He
guy
actually
who's
is.
like learned it
No,
over
he
the
actually
years?
is.
Okay.
He picked up more stuff, but Hep's always been like a jack of all trades, sort of. But he did go to school for it, and then ended up becoming a computer programmer, and starting a family and going in a different path. But he has spent a lot of time, formative years in studios, playing with bands as well. So he's worked with multiple instruments. So it's not like he's coming in blind. He
Hmm.
wasn't actively doing it like crazy when we first started connecting. He was
Yeah.
kind of just getting back into making beats. But the first beats he ever sent me were like him doing replays of songs. He'd be like, "Yeah, what do you always wanted to rap on?" And I'd be like, "Oh, this beat." And he'd just like make it. And he'd play all the parts and send it to me. And then he started getting more into sampling and stuff, and that became kind of the go-to for these projects.
Yeah, right on, man.
Yeah.
Before I let you off the hook here, I've been asking everybody just to open the door. Feel free to slam it right shut if that's what you want to do. But anything to say about the recent federal election? Got any
Yeah,
hot
man,
takes about Canadian
I'm glad we
politics?
have I'm glad we avoided Pierre. I'm real happy about that. I typically vote pretty left. And I kind of felt like in my writing right now that it wasn't really like I don't know. I think with everything that could have happened, I'm relatively happy with what happened.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
that's about where
I
I'm at too, man. Yeah,
yeah, like I like Carney more than Trudeau, I would say. And I was very scared of us going down a pretty scary rabbit hole that's already kind of happening elsewhere in the world, not just in the States. And like I don't think that represents most people in Canada, and I'm glad that it hasn't. Because for a long time it's like the NDP and the Liberal Party kind of split a lot of seats and votes, and kind of that's where you get conservative wins sometimes.
yeah.
So I'm glad that's not where we're at. And cautiously optimistic.
Speaking of some of those people going down the rabbit hole, the place that Pierre's going to airdrop himself into, that's my hometown. He's gonna.
Oh,
yeah.
for real?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Camrose, Alberta, an hour south of Edmonton, and it is the biggest city, 20,000 people. It's the biggest city in the riding that he's dropping into. So I couldn't stop laughing when I heard that was where they chose the safest conservative fucking riding in the country.
It felt like a huge kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
And also like Jagmeet, I think, stepped down as the leader of the NDP party as well. And like there's been a lot of change. But yeah, that seems like a safe. So are you like, that's your boy now, right? Like you're riding with him?
Oh yeah, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. No, I just was shocked that like, you know, there's other safe conservative ridings in Alberta. Like it's a pretty conservative place out here. But I was joking that like maybe he goes to Red Deer. Maybe he goes to like, you know, St. Albert, the little fucking outskirts of Edmonton or something, but safely conservative. But oh no, this guy, they had to drop him into a place where like you could fucking paint the hay bale blue and it's gonna win. Alberta is kind of it embarrasses me, but you know, he's gonna have a office in my hometown, and he's gonna be able to look out into a cow pasture from if he's ever there, which I'm sure he won't be. But
that's the kind of place that's never heard of a baguette store.
No, definitely no baguette stores out there. No Jareths. You know, anybody named Jareth got ran off early in their life. All right, man. This has been dumb.
Let's go.
This has been fun talking with you, bro.
Yo, can I ask you like one question before we go?
Of course, please.
People need to know it's been 100 shows. Who has been your favorite interview, do you think? Not even your favorite interview, but what has been your favorite show maybe that you feel like came together in a way that you were maybe surprised and it's okay, let's say it doesn't have to be favorite, but you have a Mount Rushmore and present company excluded also.
I mean, this one was good, but our first one was one of my least favorite, not at all because of you, but just because of that fucking tech difficulties. So that was quite awful. But dude, I have had just like so much fun talking to so many different artists. Like when you said, you know, that you've got to meet and get to know some of these people that you looked up to. That's me all day, man. It's a trip to me that sitting out here in the middle of the fucking prairies in Alberta, I still get to, you know, have conversations and actually build with people. So like really, dude, it's just been a fun ride coast to coast across the country, getting to meet people. I mean, favorites, man, it's tough for me to even think of off the top of my head. I enjoy talking to I think Kazmega. I've had some really good talks with Kazmega on Fly in Formation. Because he's just like a homie who, you know, I would have conversations like this with anyways. So those ones are always really easy. But nice. I don't know, just talking to people who like the repeat guests. I guess like maybe I've talked to Mickey O'Brien a few times now.
That's my man.
It always goes really well talking with Mickey. But honestly, dude, it goes pretty well talking with most people because like artists like to talk about art, and I like to talk about art with them. So yeah, tough for me to narrow down. But shouts to everybody who's done these things. Shouts to you for coming through to do this, man. It's
of course, man.
It means a lot to me that I get to be in this position and talk to all these artists across the country. Because another thing I've been realizing lately is that like this is 100 interviews, and it's all people who I genuinely fuck with. Like I haven't talked to anybody just for the sake of like, oh, let's fill a week with this random person. Like
for real.
Every single person, even the people whose music isn't really for me, I can respect something that they do a lot. Like, you know, I talked to Thug Shell. She's an Edmonton-based like freestyle artist or whatever, and now she's moved away from Edmonton. But like, you know, her music is not really for me. I've played a couple of her songs over the years on Adsick, but like, I can respect that. Like, she used to do an open mic where she would stream it on Twitch from the pub. You know, like
that's tight.
Yeah, you know, shit like that. Like just her online hustle. I can really respect. So pretty much everybody I've talked to is somebody who, like, there's at least some element that I really look up to and appreciate from them. So yeah, it's been fun, man. I hope that I get to do a bunch more of these things and continue building with all the people on the scene, dude.
Yeah, man, that's great. And I saw you got Quake coming up too. That's gonna be a fun one.
I do have Quake coming up. Yeah, I talked to Quake, what is it, May 20th. So looking forward to that. Actually,
the May 2-4 weekend.
May's kind of stacked, actually, you know, like I was going, you and Gritfall, and then like Ellenback, kind of a legend, you know, and then Steven Hero, catching back up with him. And like I said, the re-up editions are always fun because, you know, you're not building from scratch. So yeah, dude.
Yo, I know we were supposed to have Grit today, but I'm kind of glad at least that we get to have a conversation that you know, the audio worked on, and I was happy. It was great to chop it up with you, brother. All right.
I agree. Thanks, dude. Peace.
Peace.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you didn't hit follow, please do. I do these interviews every Tuesday, booked all the way through until the end of June, and I might actually add a couple dates in June still. So yeah, I'm talking to Ellenback next week on Tuesday, talking to Quake the week after that, talking to Steven Hero on the 27th, and then in June I'm talking to Nohsur and Jimmy Burnett on June 3rd. I'm talking to Winnipeg-based Max Wins June 10th. I'm talking to Slick Jack from Montreal on June 17th. And then I'm talking to Saskatchewan artists Harvey Dent. Hopefully both of them come through for that one. It'll be Ev Thompson and Curls on June 24th. So all sorts of good interviews coming up. Do me a favor, hit follow here. These interviews go over to YouTube afterwards. That's where they live. Playlist over there. If you ever want to, you know, really help me out, just find that playlist and hit play on it. Put it in a tab, mute it. You can just run that shit up for me. That would be wonderful. That might be the, you know, the best thing that you could do for the show, other than, of course, telling a friend about it. Tell people to tune in if they like hip-hop and want to learn more about the Canadian hip-hop scene. That's what I do, and I guess I didn't mention it at the start of the show, but After the Smoke is Clear is my weekly mix show where I play music from all of these artists, and it's 100% Canadian hip-hop for season 6. Right now we're, I think, 15 episodes into season 6. So just rolling right along there. Come through on Twitch. I am sometimes on here DJing, putting those After the Smoke is Clear mixes together. And, you know, on Tuesdays, I talk with artists. On Fridays, I listen through all the new music over here and do what I can to give a reaction to it. If I don't like it, I typically just skip on. I try not to be too negative, but if I do like it, then I vibe with it. And yeah, always trying to build community in this national scene. Appreciate people who come through and help with that. Take it easy.